Brothers and sisters, h.a.dragan here, independent world LGBTQ citizen artist, athlete, and activist. Put yourself a cup of coffee, tea, water, whatever. You don't have to, but this is gonna be a cup of coffee, integrating myself as a world LGBTQ citizen who is an independent artist, activist, and athlete. And to that trinity, we'll add a fourth dimension of being a spiritual student teacher. Say student because I have a lot to learn, and teacher because I have something I will to share. Coronavirus, stock market, and a new world order. First and foremost, calling on my Canadian brothers and sisters. As a Canadian, even closer to Montrealers, as somebody who resides, lives in, loves Hawk Island. Hawk Island, of course, is the island of Montreal, but I've christened, consecrated, and blessed it with this extra name as well, Hawk Island. Now, hope this cup of coffee is over filling, so you will excuse my etiquette manners, as this video is and will be unedited. Coffee provided with the financial support of the one I call my sister, who's a friend and oftentimes teacher, to say it. Montrealers, NDGers, yours truly, what are we to expect? Questions I have about this coronavirus. And have to say something on a more, if you will, interestingly enough, on this more etymology, but also that reverberates spiritually. And being that, and scientifically, that the word corona also refers to the sun, corona of the sun, right? That spreads many miles from the core of the sun, the star that is the king of the benevolent king, I have to say, not a dictator, king that shares light and life and vibrancy and much more than we know and we're still discovering to know. And that the name corona also means a crown, etymologically in Spanish and from the root Latin. Now, for my dear brothers and sisters who are not so acquainted with Latin, as we know that the Latin languages, or those derived therefrom, are French, Spanish, Romanian, and of course Italian, Catalan, and Portuguese. But nonetheless, of course, Canadians do know that Latin is a major language. For example, the motto of Canada is, of course, ad mare ut masque, ad mare, which is Latin from, meaning from sea to sea, as many of our mottos of the different cities are, of course, in Latin, as many of our brothers and sisters in the United States. Now, what does this have to do with the coronavirus? Just first and foremost, have to state that I'm not a conspiracy theory person. Do not believe in conspiracy theories that much. Do believe that there have existed, there do exist, and there are conspiracies, or people conspire, but do not abide by any of the conspiracy theories that flow on the internet, to say. Although do not rule out that it's a possible biological mistake that somebody made in a lab, or that it could be that it was engineered in a lab and somehow there was a mistake. People do mistakes. I do mistakes every day. I was cleaning the floors today, dusting the floors with a mop. I did a mistake. I made a pile, and then pop, I Stepped on the pile. That was a mistake. I should have stepped over it. I was stressed, agitation. We make mistakes. We make mistakes. We're human beings. Hell knows, heaven knows that I made many mistakes, and I make mistakes every day. Now, I don't believe that. I believe this is, to say, natural, but not in the sense of natural as something that exists, but something that could have been prevented, of course, perhaps, with better hygiene, more careful hygienic methods of meat cutting and meat production and meat selling in Wuhan and what have you. But we are not to blame the Chinese people, nor to say that Chinese civilization somehow lacks in these general qualities. There are individuals. Yes, I might have. Yes, you need. Yeah, well, $4. I didn't know. I remember now. And I didn't put them back because I was cleaning there with mom. Yeah, that's fine. I take responsibility for that. I did it. You got $1? I got 5. This is real life, unedited and scripted. So you'll have to bear with me for a minute. 93 seconds forward. You have $1? I have 5. Otherwise, I have 3. Yeah. This is what I have. I don't think it's enough. It's like 260 grams. See? That's only 260. We're back in business. So, like I was saying, making mistakes, possibilities, and not blaming, of course, our fellow brothers and sisters who are of Chinese origin, Chinese descent. Actually, now that I'm on, I'm calling for the world to come together to fight this virus. I don't believe it's something that must fragment people necessarily or drive them apart. One simple message I want to say is that this virus doesn't care that you're Chinese, that you're Italian, that you're Canadian, that you're Israeli, that you're Russian, right? Now it's spread across the borders, but of course there's chances of dying, mortality, whatever the percentage is, people dying from it, there's a chance, a possibility of death, right, from this coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. I believe the first case was reported on December 1st, 2019, and thus COVID-19 is the official medical name, but for purposes of which perhaps because of more facility, because of more comes easier to say, who knows, I'm gonna probably keep using coronavirus. Back to the premise statement about corona, that in Spanish means crown, and of course corona, the sun's corona in scientific measures. And there's the fact that we have, not all of us of course, but perhaps most of us have in many ways forgotten the sun, the king, who's still wears the crown and still rules power with force, but nonetheless benevolently in many ways, heat, light, and much more. Now, I can. How money is there? Okay. Well, do you know about how much? How long? Okay. All right. Give him everything that's there. Yeah, got it. Yeah. So I'm curious to know what you are doing. Personally, I've just tacked on some cans, cans of food. Not a lot. A few cans of sardines here and there. About a dozen or so, maybe more than a dozen, like 20 cans. Just in case it's gonna be a quarantine, what have you, have to stay indoors. What do you do? Food is essential. And of course, as an advocate of food security, we can take this opportunity to come together, humanity. That's my call, my calls. And of course, in many past videos, whether my workouts that were dedicated to a cause, whether my marching dance art in Hawk Island, Montreal, where I of course incorporate my artistic, athletic, and activism in that trinity, adding of course the fourth dimension of being a spiritual student teacher. That voice called for a new world order of peace, international financial security, and global environmental harmony. But I'm somebody also who likes to discern, who asks questions. Sure, that sounds fine. Those are words and slogans, my brothers and sisters. We cannot eat slogans, right? That's why I'm always wary and questioning of utopia sellers of whatever strand or denomination or the hold. Sure, I pretty much have been told before, and I admitted that I have a part of my personality, my character that is kind of like a dreamer. It could be for subconscious reasons of my own stress, my own hardships that I've lived, my own experiences dealing with XYZ, poverty, other issues, whether as a child or as a grown man, or other issues. The coronavirus is spreading. That's a fact. Just a few miles down south from here, New York just reported a few hundred cases, and it has spread in just a week, right? So the contagion is a reality. I use the words that have been used in the media that we are in uncharted territory, and indeed we are. There's not much that we know yet about the origins of the virus, as I said, but we do see radical cases such as now the lockdown of Italy. Italy is of course a country that is part of the G8, the industrialized countries of the world, so-called more wealthy nations, industrialized countries of the world, of course, the G7, and a major pillar of the European Union, and of course the world economy. Just 3 hours, 3 o'clock or so, it was announced by Air Canada that it was ceasing travel to and from Italy. This has never happened before in my life, at least in recent memory. Unprecedented events that only occurred during the First and the Second World War now have to go to a parallel of course, my workout challenge, the 300 workout challenge, that have begun in, I believe October 21st was the first 300 challenge that I did. And parallel, I've imagined this scenario where a stock market crash, I called it in that fictitious universe, the Halloween crash, because the crash began on Halloween day and the subsequent days, stock market being in the red, dropping by big percentage points all over the world, triggered a global financial collapse that spawned a few days later a surprise attack by North Korea and China on North American west coast, United States west coast, British Columbia and Canada as the west coast, and northwestern Mexico, and subsequent fighting in throughout the world, Russia and Turkey and other countries becoming warring after that. And I've imagined, of course, and have designed the 300 workout challenge to be able to be performed anywhere, anytime, and under most conditions, regardless of exterior equipment or gym membership or what have you. 3 simple exercises: squats, push-ups, hawks. And to that trinity integrated in a fourth dimension of the cardio. Now, that just a parallel because, of course, this coronavirus has triggered China being many semi self-quarantine, right, from the rest of the world in terms of the trade, and most of the cases are still in China, right? Majority of cases and deaths have occurred in China, but today around 3 o'clock again, I've heard news that the President Xi Jinping supposedly was walking the streets of Wuhan, which is supposedly the epicenter of this epidemic when it started. And where, of course, there are conspiracy theories or theories relating that there is a biological lab not far relating, supposedly conducting biological warfare research in that lab close to the market where supposedly this first patient or the first transmission of this virus occurred. Myself, I believe that in the snake theory, meaning that it was transmitted from snakes to humans. So, regardless of what is or what isn't, the virus is making people sick all over the world. Some severely, casualty rate, some say on 1.5%, 2%, some say as high as 5%. We're still learning, we're still seeing the death, pestilence, and the disease that this coronavirus is bringing upon humanity. Seems that the stock market has rebounded slightly today. Yesterday was the worst day for many stock markets across the world, including our own Canadian TSX, which of course plunged, and with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the New York Stock Exchange, and of course other stock markets around the world. With that said, I'm now launching the campaign of 7.7 billion punches against the coronavirus. Whether I will do them in the sun, or at midnight, or by the stars, under the stars, or under the moonlight. Doesn't matter. Pledging now. I'm calling for support, love, cooperation. Yours truly, Adrian h.a.dragan, world LGBTQ citizen, multidisciplinary artist, activist calling for world peace, independent athlete, was lost more than 65 pounds and is getting in shape, calling for anybody to support, locally, nationally, internationally, worldwide together. Adrian h.a.dragan to give 7.7 billion punches for humanity against the virus. Come together in peace, financial security, and global environmental harmony. And for me and for my sister, these two first ones, say your name if you want Dragon to give one punch for you, and support and finance and make happen the 7.7 billion for all mankind. One punch for all. It's going to be for me, for my friend. Yeah. I want to see the third, the fourth, going up to 7 billion punches by yours truly, Adrian h.a.dragan. Let me know. Do some action. Fuck the